Welcome. So we have Jonathan Davis here today. He's the VP of Sales at PTEverywhere, which is a physical therapy practice management software, and he's been there for almost 7 years now. PTEverywhere itself provides solutions not just for practice management, but also for patient connectivity. And so there have been a lot of really great updates, Roger, at Move Athletics, and Jonathan's role has been that of client relationships, marketing operations, strategic development. And if I read this right, he's also PTEverywhere's first and only full-time member, having led the company from $0 to 7 figures in recurring revenue.
Yes, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So welcome to the podcast, Jonathan. We are excited to have you here today.
Glad to be here. I'm excited to have a chance to talk to you both. I know we've had relationships now for a few years, and excited to join this and talk a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's been great. So everybody listening, Caitlin, when she had her practice in Texas, used PTEverywhere. I've been using PTEverywhere since 2019. John's actually the one that helped me get on board. It's been great seeing the growth. So I'm curious, John. If we start off with, why don't you tell us the problem that you guys were seeing in cash practice that even brought the idea of PTEverywhere around?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you found was a lot of systems that weren't designed for that focus, right? So you found systems that were designed more so for insurance companies than they were for providers or patients. Or you'd find a system that's designed for maybe a broader scope of maybe like mental health professionals, chiropractors, behavioral health. So in terms of just like the workflows, the functions and features, the templates, having something designed specifically for cash-based PT providers by cash-based PT providers was something that was needed.
I feel like that's something that makes a huge difference, is that it was by cash PT providers for cash PT providers. So if you get somebody in there who's engineering something who has no idea what people need and what they're doing, even if they've studied the audience, you're still not going to get it right as if you were that audience.
That's right. Yeah. So the providers here, and we're in Raleigh, North Carolina. Really kind of were patching together a bunch of different systems, and those systems really weren't designed to work together, and had their flaws. So in terms of having something where maybe one day you sell your practice, or maybe you're hiring and you really want to have systems that someone can pick up and run with. Certainly, as a solo provider, I think oftentimes we'll see people kind of patch things together. This works for me, but from a long-term perspective, for growth of a business, having the right systems with the right focus felt like it's pretty important.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. There's a big difference between a solo provider that's just making things work as they can versus having a system where you can bring people on, have smooth onboarding, have a smooth client experience. That's one thing that Caitlin and I love, is just even from the client experience end, right? We've got messaging, direct HIPAA compliant messaging to the patient. They get their home exercise program videos directly there. They get their super bills, invoices, payment history, their calendar of appointments is right there. Everything is in all, using Square for billing, and then using Acuity for scheduling, and using Google.
Heroic.
Yeah. And Google for your notes, having 5 or 6 different tech stacks to try to piece together, and then sending YouTube videos and email. So I think that's pretty fantastic. That's one thing that we've heard from our clients a lot. So they love the app. We hear that all the time.
Yeah, I think, and we kind of did some studies on this. 88% of the time, if you're on a phone, you're using an app. 12% of the time, you're on a mobile browser. So in terms of keeping your patients connected, keeping them engaged, giving them a mobile app where they can see their exercises, where they can message their provider, fill out forms, download, print, pay super bills, schedule, get reminders, get all those things in one place, easily accessible. Keeps them connected, keeps them engaged. So that helps reduce your drop off, and it keeps them motivated to continue with their plan of care. So that's a big part of the design of this, is certainly helping providers and business owners reach their goals, but also helping them help their patients better reach their goals as well.
How has the thought process evolved along the way as far as, the solution that you're providing for cash physical therapist clinics? How has that changed as you've initially, solved, and then maybe you've seen other things pop up that, oh, we can solve that, we can solve that?
Yeah, good question. So I think when we started back around 2015, there were other players in the EMR, in the practice management space, and there's been a lot more that have popped up since then as well. But what we noticed is, hey, there's not another system that's saying, hey, this is designed by cash-based PTs for cash-based PTs. So the founders of our company have had success with other software platforms, basically finding that niche within a niche, right? So like, and you see that in physical therapy practices too. Like you guys are working with a specific person, a specific athlete. So it's kind of the same thing with our business as well. As hey, we found a population that was underserved, and that allowed us to get kind of a foothold into the market. And as we've done that, we said, okay, look, there's other opportunities here for us to add new features, for us to expand, who we can serve. And ultimately, our long-term vision has been, let's be the number one solution for therapy practices. And we started with cash-based practices. And now we've evolved into, having a great solution for hybrid practices, for in-network practices when it comes to the revenue cycle management. So I mean, it's been a fun journey, and we're, you're never really done when you say, hey, I'm creating an all-in-one solution. We're building this. There's always new things that you can do, and we ask our customers, hey, what more can we do to save you time? What more can we do to, elevate your patient experience? And that's kind of how we've kind of guided this whole thing.
So feedback has been how you've better understood your actual audience even more.
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, cash-based PT practice owners help found this, along with our co-founders that have extensive development resources. But not every practice is shaped the same, right? There are some practices that, hey, we're doing packages, or we're billing insurance, or we're courtesy billing for patients, or it's not just the billing component. Okay, hey, we're doing a lot of remote programming, we're doing telehealth, we're doing manual therapy. So based on your practice, your priorities when it comes to the systems that you have will change some. So we knew, hey, listen, we're not going to come in this thinking that we know everything, and if we can have a listening ear to say, what's going to have an impact, evaluate that, come together, put our heads together and say, okay, what's going to have the biggest impact in terms of practice efficiency, patient experience. Those are the things that we're going to prioritize to add.
Yeah, you guys do a great job of it too. I mean, anytime that we ask about something, it's like, hey, we're going to send that to the team. Right? Like if we don't have that feature, it's like, hey, we're going to send it off. We'll talk about it, get to the development team, see if it's a need that we can meet. And then lo and behold, it comes out.
Yeah,
nice.
I've experienced this as a user. A lot of times with software companies, you'll hear that, oh yeah, we'll send that to the team, and then nothing happens. So they make me look good, because I have I have that confidence that our technical team is going to be able to get things done and get them done quickly. Because again, this is not just an EMR. There's so many things to it that that you can always refine and make things in terms of the user experience different. Add a feature, add an enhancement to an existing feature. We're in a good situation in that we have our own development resources. Whereas we see other companies that they're out searching for funding, or they're out searching for someone to build something for them. And then you really lose control of what's going on in your business.
Yeah. So, what I'm kind of curious is your viewpoint. If what are the downside to a cash-based clinic using an insurance-based EMR? Right? Like, out there like Clinician or Rangetree or PT, like that are big conglomerates, but they've got a lot of features that are really focused towards the insurance. What complications do you see kind of come up as somebody tries to get on?
Right. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of systems, as you mentioned, that are built primarily for insurance companies. Not built for the therapist, not built for the patient. So what you're going to see in the documentation is often a lot of hoops you have to jump through. So what we wanted to do is provide a library of different templates that you can use, that you can edit, or you can create your own. So when it comes to documentation, it can be done so much quicker, right, than having to jump through a bunch of hoops and document a cash patient the same way you're documenting a Medicare patient. Certainly, you want to make sure that you have everything covered, like legally, and document everything that happened. But there are some extremes that we see out there, right? So, I've heard it say once that say C's or D's get degrees, right? So it doesn't have to be an A+++ note. If you're wanting to work efficiently and focus more of your time on patient care, right? So that was the priority. The other thing is just the user interface. We designed this right away knowing that patients are going to be using this, therapists are going to be using this, mobile therapists are using this, right? So like, hey, I've got an EMR in my pocket, I'm doing my notes on my phone, I'm dictating, talking to text. So that was a priority, was really a real focus on the user experience of being able to do everything on the go, which frees up time for you to do things that you want to do.
Yeah, the dictation is a game changer. Just talk my notes instead of like spending some time typing, especially if I'm not super fast typer. Caitlin always makes fun of me for that. Then we're working. She's like, "Can I just type? You can talk all the time."
Nice. Yeah, the whole hunt and peck method of typing.
You're like,
works.
keyboard.
Not quite that bad, but like, yeah, especially on a Mac, and she has a different type of computer, so it's like the keyboard's in different spaces. It's like,
Okay. Yeah.
But cool.
What about, so we've seen PTE come a long way since we started using it, with more and more useful features. I think one of the most recent ones that Roger and I were like, wait, what? Was when we saw that you can assign tasks now within the EMR, which is crazy. Then takes away from, having to have a whole nother platform just to assign tasks. And then if you're in charge of staff, like now I have to navigate my staff away from the major platform to then also remember to check that, to then go back to PTEverywhere. And so now that it's all together, like there's been so many useful updates. And I know you said there's been feedback that you've gotten and requests that have made it better, and that the founders are, Cash PT, really building an all-in-one system from the client experience, the provider experience.
We've been using a different system to create tasks, right?
Okay.
Which has been a problem that we've had of like, hey, we don't really want people, like clinicians, working outside of PTEverywhere. We want them to focus on one thing, but now it's like, hey, go to a CRM in addition to the EMR and like check out things and create tasks and remember to do the billing, and here's a reminder to do something. Now it's just been even more streamlined than what it was. So I don't know.
That's right. And the other thing is you can automate those tasks as well. So we're talking about automate the sending of intake forms, automate tasks. If this happens, then let's create this task. So, the focus again has always been saving time, right? Because time's money. If you're able to work smarter, not necessarily work harder, that's a great way to be able to scale your practice. So we want to be a part of that by making that available for you.
Yeah.
How long is the list of ideas to the ones that actually get implemented and carry weight?
Yeah, it's very, very long. I can tell you that. So we have a ranking system, kind of a prioritization system where we're looking at those things, and some things we're kind of trying to be anticipatory about, because again, I know we talked to you guys about things that you like to have sometimes, but we never talked about tasks. But I'm like, hey, we could see that would be valuable for a lot of practice owners. And a lot of the times that, we have some of the same requests happen often, so that gets moved up the list. But a lot of it just kind of goes back to the vision of, practice efficiency, patient experience. Those are the two things we want to be able to hang our hat on.
Yeah. I'm like kicking myself. I'm like, shit, why didn't I ask them to make tasks? I wish I thought of doing that.
It may have gotten done quicker because you've been with us for now, what, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because you'll make systems around what's currently possible. And
Right.
so if it's not an opportunity that even exists, you're not going to think about it. You're just going to adapt to the current systems and adapt to the environment. And then it changes the game, and you can change your systems to be, Roger and I always say, like, more better.
Yeah.
When things like that get updated. And I'm sure behind the scenes, you guys use probably like some of your data that you have of, we have this percentage of like true cash PT clinics. We have this percentage of hybrid. We have this percentage of people using the insurance-based functions. So
Right.
does that also affect the order of which you make certain features is based on the amount of people using it?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. I think the opportunity there is, and it is, again, where we got in to the market and where we really became the best solution for cash-based practices because we did that. The reality is, and it is a growing percentage. It's about 5 to 6% of the total PT practice space. Now, I expect it to continue to grow, but I also see a great deal of hybrid practices. So that's where we felt like, okay, now we can, no doubt, and we may probably already are, the best solution for hybrid practices, right? So you offer your packages, you offer your memberships, your payment plans, all those type of things. But then maybe you have, where you are, you want to treat a Medicare population, or maybe where you are, there's some private insurance companies that pay well. So it makes sense for me to offer different services to different folks based on where I am and based on my patient population. So we've seen a lot of success with that, and it certainly helps to start by saying, hey, we're patient centric. We want to create a great patient experience by providing super bills and providing different payment plan options, and then add the insurance feature. Then try to do it the other way around, where you don't have the kind of the design for serving that cash population, because there's unique needs with that, just like there are with insurance. But yeah, we've been able to grow now where I'd say it's probably a 33% when it comes to cash versus hybrid versus in-network or completely billing insurance. And cash at 33% is a little bit disproportionate, but that's where we started, and we've been able to continue serving those practices now going on 7 or 8 years.
I think that's great, knowing that the market of PT is only 5 to 6% cash, but 33% is of your guys' clientele is cash. That means there's a majority of like the market sees the value and like use. Something I wanted to say earlier was tying it back to like the clinical stuff that we do with teaching people, like the way that you guys have it set up to be like where you can have your own templates, you can make your own evaluation, modify them. Like, I think that's fantastic because in the insurance EMRs, right, if you do it the other way around, like you were saying, if you start off with insurance and try to trickle down the cash, you've got all those barriers. One thing that I see that gets people off track with even knowing what's going on with the patient is they got to feed the computer. So they got to like check all these things and check all these boxes and do all these irrelevant, erroneous things in their evaluation, right? Because they got to feed the computer, and it's not in the best interest of the client at all. And at the end of their evaluations, like they're still kind of lost because they've just been checking the boxes on the computer. Their clinical brain. So even just getting that barrier out of the way, I think is huge because that's going to allow people to use their brains to evaluate instead of checking all the boxes on the computer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it, is simplifying your documentation and also making it work to your preferences. I mean, I know there's some people that love to check boxes, right? And just kind of go through their note and they use sliders and just kind of, you know, get it done. Others want a free type to text or dictate their notes. So you can do either or a combination.
So clarify there, right? Because I also have a bunch of check boxes. They're not mandatory check boxes, though.
Fair, yeah, that's true.
Boxes that apply. I don't have to check all of the boxes and put information in them. It's like, here's all the things I might check, but here's the things I did check, and I can just check.
Got you. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, definitely. That's what I call the red tape or the hoops that you have to jump through just to get something done. And throughout that process, I mean, I feel like oftentimes you lose the focus on, you know, if it's a SOAP note, we talk about the subjective, objective assessment and plan. At the end of the day, the most important thing for the patient is how do we address that subjective, right? If you're spending so much time on your objective and assessment, like your plan and how you present that plan should be focused on how am I going to get this patient doing what they want to do, you know, return to whatever they want to do with their family, with their friends, with their body. You know, that's the you often lose sight of that, and the patient realizes that too, because you know you're kind of sucked into a form of documentation that's, like you said, not really in the best interest of the client.
Yeah, I think that's key there, right? It's the subjective, it's the goal. What is important to them? What problem are they having? What problem they want to solve? And then allowing you to free up even just your thought process throughout the damn treatment to be able to focus on that and not worry about like, oh, what am I going to put in the computer later because I got to check all these 3,000 non-optional boxes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think too that it all, you know, so once you get through the evaluation, you educate the patient, which is arguably one of the most important parts at the evaluation, so that somebody knows, you know, what do I need to do about this and what's my role in my rehab. Right. And then we assign the home exercises. And I think that brings up a point of the accountability and putting that patient in the driver's seat, because now there's, oh, I'm getting my videos. There's a thing that I can mark off, have I done it or not?
And I get says, hey, have you done your exercises yet today?
That's right.
Something that we do at Move Athletics is, you know, we put the patient in the driver's seat, and it's up to them if they get better or not. And so little things like that will help nudge them, because it is hard. You have to put effort and energy in. You have to do the work when you don't want to. You have to pay attention to things throughout the day, depending on how you're moving, and to have these reminders, and then to have the accountability of I did this or I didn't do this. Right. And then to show up and see your therapist and say, Rob, do the homework you gave me, but I'm still in pain.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe you even look at it and you can tell that they didn't because they didn't mark it done, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's what I say, keeping them connected, keeping them engaged through the process is important. And that's what the app will do that a little bit on its own, you know, even you know, without your direct involvement. So, it's a great tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to use the home exercise program feature because like Kay was saying, we do a lot of educational based videos on there. The things that, you know, we commonly are educating about. So when we talk and people go home and they forget 90% of what we said, right? We've got some Cliff Notes videos that we send out to them, like, hey, these are the important parts that you need to remember that you need to start applying to your day. Like, your homework right now is to understand these things, right?
Yeah.
Listen to me talk about it for the next 4 days until you see me again. It's not actual exercise. It's like learning your role first. To exercise, which is worked out fantastic.
That's great. So are you sending those through messaging, or is that through?
We just upload them directly into the PTEverywhere database, and so then we just search the name of it, and we're like, education on this, send, and then that way it exists. And so if Roger has already sat down and made a video about some mechanical stressor for a patient with low back pain, I don't have to go and remake the same video, and I can just assign the same education, and it works out great.
That's great. Yeah, I love it. It's always interesting to hear because there's different ways to do things, and that works well. So you have basically a video that's a template that you can just pull and send when it's appropriate. So quick and easy, but super helpful and still personable, which is great.
And saves us a ton of time on the back end and make the same damn videos over and over and over again. But we do like the messaging feature. for, I mean, anything. One, you guys added a voice message option, voice memo, which is baller because I love voice memos than text. But like if I want a picture of somebody's, workstation or something, before they could, if they couldn't send me videos or pictures through the app, I'd have to either, they'd have to email it or I'd have to give my cell phone number. And really what would happen is they would inevitably forget, right? And then it would be their next visit and they're like, oh yeah, I didn't take those pictures. I didn't get you that thing that you wanted. Like behind the 8 ball. But since they can send it right to the app, if they get reminders, it happens pretty quickly, which is pretty awesome.
Reasonable too that you can like send your voice saying something when it might come across a little bit differently if I'm not being hard on somebody, but just telling them like, hey, you need to put in the work, hey, you need to pay attention to this. It's different if I send a voice memo than coming across in a very different way when I'm typing something out. Because then the alternative, if I didn't have that, is now I have to schedule a phone call or wait until they're next visit.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's three things with that are huge. Is being personable, right? So that again, you're keeping patients connected and engaged because they like you, right? And they can can trust you through the process. But not just being personable, also the convenience of it, like you said, not having to schedule something else, another call, or being able to do it on your phone, not have to sit at your computer to write an email. And then the third thing, which is kind of foundational to this, it's HIPAA compliant, right? So you're able to communicate with patients and follow the legal guidelines of where that conversation is stored and where where it goes as it's being submitted. And so yeah, it creates a HIPAA compliant environment that's convenient and personable. The messaging things has been big.
Yeah, and you can upload anything you want, right? So anything that we might want to transmit to them, that they would either have to like come in and get a printed version, or like we'd have to snail mail. We can just upload to their document. Transmission of it right there. Yeah.
Very good.
So I'm curious, you wear so many hats for PT Everywhere. So you've focused a lot on the strategic development and the growth of the brand, but then you've also, you helped onboard both Roger and I. So what does a week look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it looks a lot different than it did, 5 or 6 years ago, right? And in fact, we just hired 2 new employees today, or they started today. So pretty cool. We now have an onboarding team. We have a client care team. So in terms of getting phone calls answered, being able to get on a call where you're doing a screen share, because we want to make sure that you can maximize all the features that are available, right? It's great to say, hey, we've got all these features, PTEver can do all this, but if you're not sure how to do it for your specific needs or your practice, then you're not getting the value out of it. So as we've grown, our team's grown. So my role does vary from week to week. I like to be involved in the different areas and kind of bounce ideas off of our team. And also, get on a call with a prospect. Hey, I'm interested in, either changing my current system or I'm starting a new practice. I don't have any systems. Then I'm happy to take people through that, kind of demo or tour the system so they can see how it all works and get all their questions answered. So that's a big part of it, is just having a bunch of conversations and working together to help help more people.
I'll say honestly, even when 6 years ago, 5 years ago, when you onboarded me, everything was great, and on you now, because I was laughing, thinking like, man, I was probably such a pain in the ass, because you would show me, you would teach me, and then I'd be like, hey, what if I do that thing again? And there was never any it was never made to feel bad or like I was a pain in the ass. It's like just an instructional video, like here's exactly how to do what you're doing. Or you would cut out the part of the video that you sent me, and you're like, it's right here. It was super helpful, even back then, before you had the whole team that you have now with the massive support and that. So
yeah, I mean, it's the golden rule: treat people the way you want to be treated. That's what we try to do here. You know, if someone needs help, give them help. You know, and that's the thing. And I can tell you, you know, you may not feel this way, but we have a lot of customers that are like you, people, but maybe a little less like you, in that they are not computer people. They're not technology people. So you need a little more assistance. You need a little bit more guidance. PT Everywhere doesn't limit the support that's provided. You know, a lot of times you say, well, you got 2 weeks or you got 1 month to finish your onboard, and after that time, you're cut loose. We don't limit that, because hey, maybe a year from now you say, we're going to start doing this workshop, or we're going to start offering this package, or we want to automate our intake forms, or automate some other type of action in the software. You're still going to get that same support as if you're a brand new customer and you don't know anything, and you've never used it. We expect that, hey, it's going to be a learning process based on, you know, what your needs are, and we want to give you all the tools to set you up for success, whether that's our help center, where you can see on-demand tutorials and webinars, videos, articles, or meet face-to-face or virtually face-to-face to do a screen share.
Or if you guys come up with you've got questions, how do we maximize the use? You guys are right on it, so I think that's fantastic.
I was gonna say, it seemed like the secret sauce to making PT Everywhere what it is today is just by making it a really great product with a really great support team.
Yeah, I mean, we, up until about 18 months ago, I mean, this may blow your mind, but we did no paid advertising. Like basically everything was word of mouth, and largely because the cash-based community is pretty tight knit. So it's like no one really no one really raises their hand necessarily to say, hey, I'm a cash-based PT practice. If you're searching on the web, sometimes it's hard to find those. So we got into some communities, but then we said, hey, if we can focus on creating a great product and supporting our customers with that product, providing great support, then we'll grow, and we have. And now, as we're getting into a little bit larger, more competitive space in the insurance realm, we've been able to take some of those resources that we've had and reinvest them into some advertising to help us grow, and again give us the need to continue to hire and build and kind of shift our roles and responsibilities here on our team as well.
Yeah, I'm sure that, the insurance based is definitely a shift. Any cash Facebook group I've ever been in, you guys have always been part of the conversation with people speaking to PT Everywhere and really highlighting what you guys have done. So
yeah, it's been good. I mean, we really have you all to thank, and your friends and colleagues that kind of done the work. Like, hey, what are you using on PT Everywhere? Or just offering it up. Say, look, I'm using PT Everywhere and it's great. So, so that's been a huge part of our growth is organic conversations.
Yeah, sweet.
Cool.
Well, as we wrap up, thank you so much for being here. Jonathan's highlighted not only all the features of PT Everywhere, but the problem that it solves for not only cash-based physical therapy clinics now, but also hybrid and insurance-based, because the entire industry is changing. We're doing more for our patients. We're sending them videos. We're not just giving them printouts, doing the bare minimum. The standard as a whole has elevated in the game for physical therapy and for performance rehab, honestly. So thank you, Jonathan, for being a part of the discussion today, and thank you for sharing everything that you did.
Yeah, hey, thanks for what you all are doing. We're excited to take some time to speak with you and support everything that you're doing in your business, and let us know if we can help in any way.
Thanks,
All
brother.
right.